Hey guys, how's it going? Anthony Muturaja here. Yeah, I've been MIA for a while. I was away for the whole of August. August? What the hell? I mean, June. Still in a vacation mode, it's quite obvious. Yeah, I was in India. Um, I was in Mumbai hanging out with some friends and making new friends. Did some teaching, some workshops and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm back here in Dubai, back to work mode. So, I'm back with the lessons again. So, I figured I'll talk about something which I feel it's always in two extremes. It's either over practiced with no musicality that to back it up, or it's under practiced, and that is rhythm. More than often, you see a lot of younger generation kids. They want to learn all the hip harmony, they want to learn all the hip melodic ideas, but when it comes to rhythm, they kind of take a step back because rhythm is actually quite a bitch to even try to practice. Especially if you want to get deep into it, it gets really difficult. So, if I were to take music and break it up into components, I would say you would have harmony, you have melody, and you have rhythm. So, and then again, if you look at each in isolation, they are dependent on each other, but rhythm is independent. Rhythm by itself can say a lot as opposed to a note. One note can't say anything. Now, two notes might start to say something, but how do you rhythmically put it? That's when it starts to say something. So, those two notes could be a rock bass line or a riff or a jazz intro line, or it could be anything, but the way you rhythmically place it and phrase it is what's going to really determine what you have to say. Right? So, I cannot stress the importance of having a good sense of rhythm and time. So I figured I'll do a series on just rhythm and time and break it up into a few components, right from the very foundation to a slightly more advanced approach. So this lesson is going to be in maybe 3 or 4 parts, I'm not sure. But here's part 1 to start off with. So, and before I continue, I would like to point out I just crossed the 1,000 subscribers early this month, and I'm very, very happy and thankful to all of you who have been supporting me. If you're watching this for the first time or you're on my channel for the first time, do subscribe and check out all the other lessons I've put up and the lessons to come in the future. So check this out. Hey, and we're back. Right, so I don't want to go through this, but just to put it out there, I hope or I assume you know fundamental rhythms, subdivisions, whole notes, half notes, quarter, eighth, 16th, and then obviously the dotted notes. Right, so assuming that you guys know that, I'm going to move forward, right? So let's take quarter notes. Now, quarter notes for me is middle ground. Majority of music has quarter notes happening majority of the time. Quarter notes and eighth notes are very common, so we'll go with quarter notes, right? So now one thing bass players tend to do a lot, or even stringed instrument players tend to do a lot, especially those with the pick or you play fingerstyle, is we never play notes for its required duration, right? For example, if a bass player is playing a major scale or any scale, you'll never hear sustenance through the scale. Every note jumps from one to the other. There is no movement to the other or smooth flow to the other. Whereas if you were to sing, or if a horn player were to play a scale, he would never go boop, boop. He would do da-da. A singer would do the same da-da-da-da-da-da-da. There is no da-da-da-da. There is no staccato kind of thing happening. It could happen, but that's a musical choice you make. And it's something to be practiced too, but for sure, you have to practice subdivisions for its duration. And what I mean, let me just stretch that out further. If I were to take a rhythm like this, that's the 16th note rest, followed by a 16th note. And then have an 8th note rest. Okay, so if this is my pulse, 2, 3, 4, right? It's a short note, it's quick. But now if I were to change this 16th note to a dotted 8th, and I still keep the pulse. So the pulse is 1, 2, 3, 4, different. It might be the same subdivision as far as counting goes. That's on the E, yes. 1 E. But it's a sustained note. So let's not forget to sustain it for the duration that it is. Right? So it's very important to keep that in mind. Okay, so now let's take a look at a good old friend C major, the scale. Right? So now if I were to write it out in 4/4, one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Excuse me. So that's the pretty much the standard way of playing scales. It's C, right? The 8th note being the octave. Now if I were to put a click, and let's say I'm putting the click at about 60 beats per minute, right? So we are used to this. 2, 3, 4. That is something we are very much used to. And if you notice, I'm trying to play actual quarter notes. I'm not cutting off before it's supposed to be the next note. So keep that in mind when you're practicing your scales or whatever it is. Now, what we can do is now you can look at this in two ways. It's either you place the click on a different subdivision, or we start playing on a different subdivision with the click maintaining 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I'm going to take it from the point of view where I'm going to start the scale on a different place. So the click is still 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to start on the 8th note up, or the N. Fairly simple again. 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and. Alright? Still trying to maintain the whole note, the quarter notes. Now you can kick this up a notch. Now I'm going to play the scale starting on the second 16th note. Right? That's the one E. And that's what it sounds like. I'm going to demonstrate what it sounds like, and I'm still going to keep playing quarter notes only. 2, 3, 4. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Next one obviously is to play the Rs. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 right? Now I might tend to scuff up a little bit. That's because I'm trying to count the subdivisions while I'm playing just quarter notes, but starting at a different point in the subdivisions. So what's the difference between just hitting the subdivision and just playing the quarter notes? This is what it is. I'm going to play the E's. 2, 3, 4. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. That's a little easier to do because I'm just playing a quick note, a staccato. It's just in and out, in and out. But the minute it starts to sustain, it's very hard to hear the placement of that particular subdivision you're targeting. So that is why I like to practice quarter notes and then eventually eighth notes. Let me just demonstrate eighth notes. So I'm going to start on the E. Right? That's eighth notes. Now it doesn't feel like eighth notes anymore because it's not your usual on the downbeat start. Let me stop that shit. Right? So it's very, very important to be able to acknowledge subdivisions in this manner. Right? So this not only helps you play syncopated lines better or write rhythmically interesting stuff, but it really helps you find your place in the band. Right? It helps you to deal with that drummer who always throws you off. Because drummers have this down to a fine science. Good drummers have this down to a fine science. Right? Because for the most part, they don't have much of harmony or melody to deal with on their instrument. Right? They have to deal with it in the band setting, in the environment they're in. But for their playing perspective as to what they have to hit, it's pretty much just subdivisions. But for us, harmonic or melodic instruments, it's tough because, it's not always you have 16 note staccato lines. There are sustained notes. I mean, imagine if you have something like 1, 2, 3, 4. Something like that, where the staccato comes in place, but there's a lot of sustained rhythmic fractions. How are you going to deal with that if you're not able to acknowledge the subdivision in every angle possible? Right? So I thought I will leave this. I just want to stop with this much. I don't want to push it any further. And obviously that was quarter notes and eighth notes, what I demonstrated and what I just spoke about very briefly. Now you can do this with your scales, your arpeggios, like anything really. There's no limit to what you could practice this with. So the next lesson I will tackle 16th notes and then a few other tricks I like to use the metronome for. And then down the road I will talk about a few drum based exercises or percussive based exercises that I use a lot, considering the fact that I am originally a drummer. That's my first instrument, so that's forever stuck in me, right? So I hope you got something out of this. Once again, I invite you to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you have any questions or requests or confusions, whatever it is, do comment below or hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, or drop me an email. I'm always happy to answer. So with that, I'll see you guys in the shed. Peace.